One of the most common questions that I've been getting asked on stream is, I just hit level 50, what should I do first? So in this video, we're going to start with some quick prep you can do in town that's going to benefit you immediately. We're then going to talk about high priority content that I recommend you focus on first. And finally, we'll cover various side goals that you can pursue as well. So the first prep that we're going to do is join a guild. There are a lot of benefits to joining a guild. The main reason you want to do this right away is so that you can get this donation count cooldown up and running. Your guild is going to usually have a red thumbs up next to the material or materials that they need the most. And if you feel like you have this material, but for some reason you can't donate, it's probably just because you don't have the gray version. So if you have green materials or higher, don't forget that you can always dissolve those down. And then once we go back into the guild screen here, I can now donate those, and I'm going to get guild coins every time I do this, and then that count is going to start ticking, and I'll be able to do this again later today or tomorrow. I'm also going to get guild coins from this reward screen. Whenever my guild does events, even if I don't necessarily participate in those events, I'm still just going to benefit from being in a guild where other people are doing stuff. One of the easy ways we can get resources for our guild is going to lead us into our next prep, which is Amitoi expeditions. Normally this button by default is over in the middle of your screen somewhere, but I've moved it off to the side. We're going to click on this, and it's going to take me to the Amitoi house. At first, you'll only be able to send out one of these at a time, but as your expeditions level up, you'll be able to send out more Amitoi, and you'll also be able to unlock different regions. Each of these has their own material that you can get, and also its own category. So this category is plains, this category is forest, and so on. You want to use Amitoi that match the region that you're in, and the more bonuses you have, the more disproportionately these short missions are going to benefit. So if you have a lot of these green arrows, you really want to try to maximize the 1 hour missions as much as you can. Obviously, if you're away from the computer, you can do 2 hours or 8 hours or whatever you need to do. But whenever you're at the game, try to keep these workers up and running as much as you can with as many bonuses as you can. Remember, this game is published by Amazon, and that means our workers do not get to take breaks. The next thing that we're going to do is our daily shopping list. And if you're like me, you really don't like having daily tasks in MMOs, but don't worry, in Throne, it's not too bad. What we're going to do is we're going to start off by going over here to this guild merchant. And once your guild is level 10, you will unlock a bunch of stuff that you can buy down here. You always want to buy out these polished crystals if you have enough coins to do that. And then there's a weekly purchase of trait conversion stones. You want to work on getting this maxed out every week as well. Next, we're going to go over here to this sundries merchant, and the blue contract scrolls, you want to make sure you're buying these out every week. And then for dailies, we just have some cooking mats. These are pretty cheap, so even if you're not doing cooking yet, just go ahead and buy these out and start stockpiling them, because you might decide you want to do cooking later. And then finally, we're going to go over to this contract coin merchant, and we always want to buy out the mystic keys and the fishing baits. You can also get fishing bait with ornate coins nowadays, so this isn't as scarce as it was on KR, but I still think it's cheap enough to be worth buying. Fishing has a bunch of benefits, so similar to cooking, even if you're not doing it right now, you might want to do it in the future, and I would start stocking up on it. For our weekly purchases here, we want to try to buy out all these trade extraction stones and all of this enchanted ink. I'm getting close to the end of the week, and I haven't quite been able to finish getting my enchanted ink yet, but if I get enough contract coins stockpiled in the future, I'm also going to want to buy this precious blessing pouch every day. Early game though, don't worry about this precious blessing pouch. It can be a little expensive, and you want to prioritize the keys, the baits, the extraction stones, and the ink, and make sure you're able to afford all that stuff first. Once you've got a good baseline of coins, then you can start buying these pouches every day as well. Now, one more thing before we head out to adventure. If you still have any gray items equipped on your character, it is time to replace those. So there's a variety of ways you can do this. You will want to come over to Western Stoneguard, where there's all these different crafters. We'll start with the accessory crafter here, and if I scroll down, I can see these green items that are available to craft. These quality lithographs here, you can get these from a variety of methods. You should have some of them just from leveling up and doing the main story and getting those rewards. You will also get some from the battle pass if you've progressed through that. You can purchase these from the contract coin merchant once you have done some of your contracts, which we'll get into in just a second. And then finally, there is a lithograph book. You should start familiarizing yourself with this if you haven't already. And what we can do is we can go down to this common filter at the bottom here. And as you can see, a lot of these common item lithograph entries have green lithographs as their reward. So if I need to craft some green armor, if I need to craft some green accessories, what I can do is I can fill these out. And an easy way to fill out a huge chunk of that lithograph is to go back over to the shopping part of Stoneguard, and we're going to talk to Equipment Merchant Arthos here, and he's going to have a bunch of gray equipment to sell. So I'm going to talk to him. I can use this purchase all button here to kind of do this quickly and just grab all this stuff. It's pretty cheap. You should have enough solent to do this. You want to buy anything that has this book icon. So in my case, it's everything here has this icon still, so I want to buy one of everything. And then I can go into my lithograph book and go down to common, and I can just start hitting add all. I don't really have to be careful when adding grays. If you saw the other video, we talked about being careful when adding higher tier items to your litho book, but with grays, just slam the add all button, just get these done and start claiming those rewards. You'll notice that some of these still have gaps. So like I can buy every bow or every crossbow except for this sturdy crossbow. If I want to know where to get this, I just click on it and it says level 5 Wild Hill Shores or Wind Hill Shores. So if I want to go and if I really want this lithograph, I don't want to pay the contract coins for it. One option of what I can do is I can just go and kill some lobsters and get this. Gray items drop pretty fast, so it probably won't take you too long to do this. But you really want to focus on just replacing all of your gray items with green, and then upgrade all those green items to +6. Another thing that you can do with this lithograph book here, you can craft one of each green ring and then feed this into the lithograph book for a violent signet. If you're playing a DPS class, odds are you're going to use violent signet for the entirety of T1. This is a really good ring, and a lot of guilds it's actually better even than purple rings. So if you want to go ahead and get a head start and grab yourself a violent signet, you can. Similarly, you should have gotten one blue weapon from the main story quest, but if you want your offhand to also be blue, then you can craft one of each green weapon that matches that. So I did it for daggers here. I crafted one of each of these green daggers, and then I put that in the book, and I got a blue dagger as a result, and I'm still using those blue daggers right now. So you can get a head start on that violent signet. You can get a head start on your blue offhand. There's a lot of good stuff that you can use this lithograph book for. So go ahead and make those upgrades, and that's going to make the next content that we do that much easier. All right, so we got all the town logistical stuff out of the way. Let's go out in the world and start doing something. So our number one priority when we're just looking for something to do in Throne and Liberty is events. If there is an event up and running, we should be doing it. Each of these events is going to have a codex entry that is related to it. So if you want to complete the codex, then you kind of need to do each event at least once so that you can show up and complete these objectives here that are related to that event. But once you've kind of got the codex out of the way, you'll probably just focus on the higher level events. Right now, Co-op Requiem of Light is a really good one to focus on. And the reason for that is because you can get this special resistance medal, basically just for showing up and contributing a little bit. So you can see the other rewards here on the right, but if you just meet the bare minimum for each of these thresholds, so like if the event gets to tier 3, I just need to make sure that I'm contributing whatever the bottom amount is here. Looks like 30 is the minimum that I would need to do. So I just need to do the bare minimum to kind of get on the board here, and I will get one of these special resistance medals. If I save up 40 of these, it can be used to accumulate a purple item. So this is a really good event to do if you are just looking for something and you're not sure which one to focus on. These events only happen every 3 hours. So if one is up, make sure you do it. You'll have the other 2.5 hours to focus on other stuff. And, since these are time gated, you want to make them a priority. Same thing with bosses. If there are bosses that are about to spawn, put that to the top of your list, set aside whatever, contracts or whatever else that you're doing, and try to get those bosses done, because again, they're a time limited thing. You're not going to get an infinite number of chances to do this. You have to do them when they come up, so try not to miss them. So now we're finished with our boss or our event, or maybe we just log in when there's not anything scheduled. The next thing we can focus on is contracts. So if you just hit level 50, you'll probably have a lot of contracts piled up. And there's a few different places that you can do these. I personally prefer to do them at Pure Light Tower, but you can also do them at Watcher's Post or Kanina Village. And You will regenerate 10 of these contracts every single day. You want to make sure that they never go over the maximum. But really, when you first hit 50, there's a lot of benefit in just doing every contract you have. So even if you have like 40, 50, or all 60 of these piled up when you hit max level, it's a pretty good idea to run as many as you can stand. These get a little repetitive, so there's kind of two ways to think about doing this. There's the fast way, which is I'm just going to select every mission that's from the same zone that has a reward that I kind of want. And the rewards that I want here are going to be the purple loot bag, which didn't show up, but followed by the blue Marand ore, the red Rubrix ore, the yellow Stalin ore, and the green Emerald ore in that order. So this is skill books, weapon stones, armor stones, and accessories. Those are the ones I like to go for. Usually you don't need to go for the material or the parchment or the polished crystal unless you have a specific need for those. There's other places that you can get those things. So that's kind of the order that I target these in. And if I really want to min-max, I'll just pick my favorite mission from this, except one, and then refresh. And the goal here is to try to get as many purple bags as I can. So for the next one, if I care about going back and forth to two different zones, maybe I just want to keep everything in Shattered Temple. So I'm going to focus on another Shattered Temple mission here and accept that, and then refresh. Now, if like a purple bag comes up and it's in Pure Light, then I'm going to end up splitting. I'm going to have to do some missions in Shattered Temple and some missions in Pure Light. So that's going to slow me down a little. So it's kind of up to you, like how much you want to min-max and just focus on the best reward versus how much you want to say, okay, I'm just going to pick the best missions from one area. That way I can do all 5 in one go and kind of get it done a little faster. But you're going to get all kinds of good stuff from this. You're going to get magic power. You're going to get these Abyssal contract tokens you can use to grind Abyssal Dungeons later. This training do will help you level up your skill mastery. And then obviously the 4th rewards we've already talked about. Now, while I'm out doing my contracts, I want to keep an eye on the mini-map for this mystic globe icon right here. And when I find this, it's going to be a little red circle. If you recall earlier, we bought these mystic keys with our contract coins at the beginning of the video. And the reason for that is so that we could use them to unlock these mystic globes. These are very important. You're going to get really good rewards from these contract tokens, ores. You can also sometimes get trait stones. And most importantly, you will occasionally see a mystic portal open up as a result of getting one of these. And that mystic portal is going to have even better rewards. The mystic portals are kind of hidden. It'll show you an area where the portal is somewhere in this circle on your map, but you kind of have to go on like a little scavenger hunt to find it. I actually think this is a pretty enjoyable minigame. Some of these are kind of well hidden, but if you don't want to look for these and you just want to get it done quickly, then what you can do is you can look for your mystic globes in kind of a flat open area. So like you can go to like one of these ocean areas or one of the beginner areas or Stella fields, or nesting grounds. These are kind of really big, open, flat areas. So when you find your mystic globes, the portals will be pretty easy. There's not a lot of, like cliffs or rocks or, things that they can hide the portals in. So if you just want to get it done quickly, you can also generally find more mystic globes in a shorter amount of time in those areas just because they're less farmed. So if you want to get it done quickly, that's the way to do it. But if you want to go on a little bit of a hunt, then do it in the higher level zones, and the devs have done a good job hiding them in some pretty interesting places. Now, when you're done with your contracts and your mystic keys, or when you just feel like you need a break from those things, one thing you can turn to is the secret dungeons in the menu. This isn't really the highest priority. The main reason I mention it in this order is just because these are kind of quick to do. So the early floors, you're going to smash through these real fast. Some of the later floors, you might need a little bit of gear before you can take these on. So if you try these and they feel a little bit too challenging, it's not a big deal. You can always just come back to this later. But just keep this in mind as like a cool little solo activity that you can do when you're looking for a break from other stuff. Our next major priority is going to be Dimensional and Abyssal Dungeons. So you can see tokens for both of these up in the top right corner of the screen. Dimensional tokens are for the instance dungeons. You regenerate these at 900 a day, and as you can see, mine are about to cap out. So I have a lot of catching up to do after this video. You don't want to let these max out. This is one of the most important resources that you are going to have in Throne and Liberty. You're going to spend these on instance dungeons, and if you're not sure which dungeon to run, take a look at the weapon weapons that drop in each one. That's usually a safe bet. Every build is going to have purple weapons, most likely, that come out of these dungeons. And beyond that, Cave of Destruction is a good option for Bracers of the Primal King. This is a very popular item for a variety of DPS builds, and so even if you're not using it, you can extract the traits and make some good money here. Glade Stalker is another popular item. And then another good one is Cursed Wasteland. Cursed Wasteland is where the Violent Signet drops, and since this is a blue and it's very valuable, this is going to be some consistent income as well. Hopefully you get lucky and get some good traits on that. And as far as difficulty goes for these, it says minimum combat power 1600. If you have done a lot of content like this in other games and you feel confident, then maybe 1600 is okay. But for most people, I would recommend that you get a little bit of gains first and probably try these closer to like 2000. If you are going to pug these groups, then you are going to want to look up a guide. And for that, I recommend Grobs' channel. He's got a lot of really good, quick 5-minute guides for each of these dungeons. Just a high quality content creator in general, so make sure you guys check him out. These dungeons can be done blind if you have your own group. So if you have friends that want to do these dungeons and you guys just want to figure out the mechanics, I think you can have a lot of fun doing that. They are pretty intuitive for the most part. And you know, if you get stuck, you can always just look up the guide anyways. So I do recommend giving that a try if you have a group. But if you are pugging, people are just going to kick you. So I mean, it is what it is. That's MMO culture. Most people do not want to stop and teach the dungeon to you, especially after the game's been out for a while. So if you're going to just join random groups, then you probably want to look up a guide first. These dungeons are also going to reward you with Abyssal tokens. You're also going to be getting Abyssal tokens from your contracts. You're going to be getting it from your Amitois, and you're going to be getting it from Mystic Globes. So there's a lot of things that are going to be funneling Abyssal tokens to you. Pay attention to those. Make sure you do not hit the cap. Again, this is a very valuable resource. The cap for these is 20,000. And you're going to be getting a lot of these blue scrolls, either buying these from the Sundries merchant like we talked about earlier, or you're going to be getting these blue scrolls out of those purple loot bags that sometimes come from a reward from your regular contracts. And so you want to spread out and make sure that you're doing your blue contracts for each of the Abyssal dungeons. So there's 4 that you're going to get. There's Shadow Crypt, Silius floors 5 and 6, Sanctum of Desire, which only opens when it's raining, and then Saradoma. If you're running low on tokens, then Shadow Crypt uses fewer tokens than the other dungeons that we mentioned, so that's something you can keep in mind. But in general, get those blue contracts done for each of the dungeons, and then you can focus on a specific Abyssal that has gear that you want and make that a priority. Also keep in mind that all of these dungeons become PvP at nighttime. The Saradoma waypoint closes at nighttime, so if you die, you're going to have to swim back. However, there are also special chests that spawn in Saradoma on night that you can fight over that have really good rewards, so that's something you can go for as well. And finally, when you're doing these level 50 Abyssal dungeons, make sure you are always doing it in a group of 6. There's no reason to try to solo these or anything. You don't get penalized for being in a group, so just find people to group up with and kill the mobs as effectively as you can. The last of our major priorities are going to be weekly goals. We're going to cover 3 of these, starting with Gate of Infinity, which can be found in the Secret Dungeons menu. You can see the dates that these rotate in and out, and the goal here is going to be to go for these achievement rewards. Just defeating these at all gives you a really nice bundle of rewards here. 20 precious polished crystals is quite a lot. These bonus rewards are really nice as well, but if you can't get these bonus rewards right away, early game, if you're not geared enough, even if you're not geared enough to defeat the dungeon at all, don't sweat it too much. You might just have to get some more gear and come back to this later in the week, or you might even have to just skip this one and then start it next week. If you eventually get more geared and you start to learn your class really well and you want to be competitive, the top 20 of these get some bonus rewards as well, so that is also something to keep an eye on if it interests you. Another weekly thing to pay attention to here is the weekly mission. You're probably going to do most of these automatically if you are doing the other things we talked about in the video, getting your globes, contracts, running dungeons, etc., helping your guild out. Each one of these weekly missions will populate a piece of gear that you can select from when the week is over. So this is going to expire later today. There's 14 hours left in this one. And since I have every single one of these checked, all these question marks are going to turn into items. And these are just random purple items that I can pick from. And so last week I picked the Templar Choker. I think the lithograph for this happened to be selling well. It was selling better than the other pieces that I had. But there's some really good stuff you can get here. If you are lucky enough to get something called a Band of Universal Power, congratulations, you have won the lottery. You should definitely pick that. That is the best ring in the game for pretty much every build right now, and it will be for a long time. It's very difficult to get. The boss that drops it isn't in the game yet, and when he is, it's still going to be hard to get. And there's other really good stuff you can get from this too. So if you're not sure, you can always look these items up on the market and see, what's selling for what, and kind of get an idea of which one you should pick. You can pick these materials over here. Usually the only thing I would go for other than a purple would be trait unlock stones. Trait unlock stones are extraordinarily valuable, so sometimes it does make sense to go for these. But just keep that in mind. Usually one of the purples is worth getting, but if they're all kind of like bread and butter, pieces that are flooded on the market, then trait unlock stones is also an option here. Now, these arena matches over here are going to dovetail nicely into our arena weekly, which is win 3, win 5, and win 10. So this first one here is going to give you 3 arena coins. This second one here is going to give you 2 arena coins, and this third one here is going to give you 1 arena coin. I highly recommend that you try to at least get the first 2 of these checked off every week. Those arena coins can be used to buy gear from the Castleton Arena, which is kind of in the upper area of Castleton here. These accessories are not super well known yet. I don't think the word has got out that these are in the global launch. I think a lot of us expected for this to come later in the arena season, but you can get these right now. So if you're doing all 10 of your arena victories, you're going to get 6 coins a week. If you just do 5 wins, you're going to get 5 coins a week. So most of the benefit comes from just getting those first 5 wins, and then you'll get 1 extra coin if you win another 5. So at least get those first 5 wins if you can. If you're really struggling in arena, if you just don't have luck with good teammates, or if your gear just isn't there yet, then, maybe for the first week or 2, you're going to have to sit this out. But you want to start getting these coins as soon as you can. Take a look at these accessories: attack speed, hit chance, and then various different types of CC chance on them as well. You can kind of pick which one matches your build. These are very, very strong bracelets. Some classes might even use these instead of Primal King, but regardless, even if you don't want to use these, you can spend your coins on these and then extract the traits and sell the traits on the market. If you're lucky enough to get like max health or skill damage resistance on one of these, that's going to be a lot of Lucent. So try to get those arena objectives done and spend your coins on this. Pay attention to the market to see what the biggest benefit for you is going to be. Now, for this last section of the video, we have a bunch of stuff that's not really time gated. It's not really resource gated. It's just content in the game that you can do whenever you feel like doing it, whenever you want to break from other things or you're looking for something fresh. The first thing that we can do here is hunt for Morphs, Guardians, and Amitois. So if we open the menu again, we can go through any of these and see how to get each Amitoi. Having more Amitois is really beneficial. If we click on this lithograph book tab here, you can see all the benefit from having more Amitois. Really good things like Solent bonus, Abyssal contract, token efficiency, item chance. All of these will go up the more Amitois that you have. There's also synergies that you get, so you can go for certain combos of Amitoi, and if you get both of these, then you get this synergy bonus. So collecting Amitois is going to bring you a lot of benefits in the long run. And you can see on the summon list how to get these. Some of them are going to be from the Codex, some of them are going to be from gathering, some of them will be boss drops. And then similarly with Morphs, you can go in to any particular category, scroll down, click on these and see, okay, where do I go to get this? This one comes from a dungeon. And then Guardians as well. Your build is probably going to have a Guardian that is associated with it. Tanks and melee players often like this Green Ranger. Crossbows sometimes uses it as well when they're bombing. Another one that's really popular here is Shade. This is a really good PvE Guardian. This is going to be a popular one to use in dungeons. And then Lady Knight is a really popular one for PvP DPS builds. It's going to give you a mana shield and cooldown speed. So like staff users in PvP will often run this this to get a little bit of survivability and get those cooldowns during a big push when during PvP. These are all associated with Codex missions. The Codex missions in general are another thing that you can do. You can hit J to see all these. So if you go under exploration here, you can just scroll down. Some of these are going to be locked behind milestones, so they might not be available on your server yet, but there's a whole slew of rewards you can get here. Don't forget about cooking and fishing. There's some really useful foods that you can cook. Starting off really low level, there are some recipes that are going to be useful. If we scroll down here to this bird egg custard, this is going to give me a 50% solent boost. I try to always have this food running if I am doing Abyssal Dungeon grind. You get a lot of solent when you're doing Abyssal Dungeons, and this is going to increase that by 50%, which is just going to make it a monstrous amount. Try to always remember to run this when you are in an Abyssal Dungeon. It's considered like a coin or a utility food. I don't know what the right name for this is, but the point is this will stack with your attack food that you're running as well. So you can run this food and you can still run, you know, your hit chance food or whatever else you want to have on when you're grinding. So scroll through these and find some that you like. There's a higher version of the Solent food called crab meat pie. This is going to unlock later on at like level 10 or 11, I think. And this will give you not only the Solent bonus, it'll also give you contract token efficiency. So you'll get the extra cash when you're grinding and your tokens will go 10% further. So this is a really good one. Leveling up cooking is also going to kind of naturally lead you to farm areas that you may not have otherwise farmed. Be aware that some of these materials are only going to drop when it is raining. So if I click on this and go to how to acquire, and then I go to Daybreak Shore, I can see this little raining icon here. Just, you know, pay attention to this, because if I'm running around killing crabs and I'm wondering why this isn't dropping, then it's probably because some of these items require it to be raining. If you are wondering when it's raining, Maxroll has a raining weather app, I guess. And so you can just go to maxroll.gg and check whenever the next rain is going to come. And then similarly, we have fishing. Fishing is going to be used to get a bunch of materials that you need for cooking. Not every cooking recipe requires fishing, but some of them will. And not only that, but you can also fish up these bags. Or sacks, I guess. There's small sack and large sack, and these actually can have some really good stuff in them. Those precious marins, you can sell those on the auction house. They're selling really well right now. You can also vendor them for like 460k solent each. If you need some solent, you can get trade on lockstones from these. Later on, as a kind of like pity catch-up mechanic, you'll be able to loot up fragments of arc boss weapons from fishing. So I don't know when that will be added to the game, but it's just something to keep in mind. You can fish for stuff other than just cooking ingredients. There are some nice rewards that are going to be useful for anyone. And then if all else fails, you don't feel like cooking or fishing or doing any of that, you just want to go and run in a circle and kill mobs and get some loot, but maybe you're out of Abyssal contract tokens or whatever, you could always just go to a level 50 area and just start killing stuff. And if you want to see what things drop, you can click on the area on the map and go here. So this Possessed Galu Knight has a chance of dropping Heroic Greaves of the Resistance. I don't need any tokens for this. I don't need anything special to enable this. I can just go around and kill these and maybe I'll get lucky. Even if I don't get a rare drop from one of these level 50 mobs, fairly often mobs in these high level zones will drop green contracts. And these green contracts that you loot are a little bit different from the ones that you get from the contract manager. So normally we go up to the contract manager, we have to select a contract from this list, and then we refresh the whole list. The contracts that you loot, you refresh one at a time, spending Solent, and you get 99 refreshes. So this is a little sweaty, but what you can do is you can just continually refresh these and fish for the purple loot bag as a reward. Now, you won't always get this. You will occasionally roll 99 times and not get a bag. In fact, it's been happening to me fairly often lately. This is kind of tedious, and so you may not want to do this for every single green contract that you loot. This button isn't even very responsive, and it kind of grays out for a second, which can be good because if you click it too fast, you can accidentally skip the purple bag. But yeah, I hope they add some kind of quality of life here in the future where we can like do an auto refresh and then select, like only stop refreshing if I get a purple bag or something. Some kind of quality of life here, but I will say those purple bags have some really good stuff in them, guys. They will give you purple loot sometimes. It'll give you blue contracts, which have more contract coins and also have a chance of giving you purple items and other loot. So I do tend to take the minute or two to re-roll these. I don't usually re-roll this sweaty on my blue contracts. For those, I would focus on the objective. For example, like if I am in Sanctum of Desire and I'm over at the Altar of Darkness, I will take the Altar of Darkness contracts, but I won't take Juno Boat's book because that's in a completely other side of the dungeon. So if I'm over at Juno's book, then I'll take those contracts, but I won't take the Altar of Darkness. So you kind of want to focus on more what objective you're doing with the blue contracts, but with the green ones, all the objectives are whatever, right? So we just re-roll until we get one, and then we see that purple bag, we get a little hit of dopamine, and we click accept. And so, yeah, just if you like have been playing all day, all week, and you've exhausted everything else, or if you just want to break from all that stuff and you just want to go grind, you can just grind open world mobs. And even if you don't get lucky with a purple drop, you can get those contracts, and those extra contracts are super valuable. Do not underestimate the value of those contract coins and the bags and the additional contracts and all the stuff that are going to come from doing those. That's going to be it. If you guys have any more questions, you can leave a comment. You can find me live streaming both on YouTube and on Twitch. Guys, I know my videos tend to run a little bit longer. I try to cram a lot of relevant information. I do try to keep it tidy and concise, but you guys can let me know in the comments. Do you like these longer videos? Do you like how much I'm trying to cram in here, or is it a bit too much? Give me some feedback, and I will see you guys soon.